Hi, it's Megan. I did an earlier review video for the matte NARS multiple in Altai and Siam, and now I'm doing one for Laos and Vientiene. And I think these two colors are actually easier to work with, in all honesty, than the other two colors, although I think they're all equally pretty, just different. So first, these are the two colors, and I have outdoor swatches so you can see what it looks like in natural light. So this is Vientiene, which is a copper bronze, and I'll swatch it on my arm. It's not going to work very well. I swatched it in the wrong spot right there. It's a very vibrant, coppery bronze. It really is actually true. And it doesn't have any sparkle since it's a matte, but very true to what they promise. And I find that the ones I've looked at were mostly warm, and I'll describe the shades in a minute. This one's a lot darker than Altai. So Altai was a rose bronze. It's a very light color. I'm just going to compare that one on my arm. It's a very, very light. And again, as much as it does look rose, that's the lighter one right there, as much as it does look rose, I also feel like these two both have a warm undertone. So when I was showing Altai to other people on my arm, I had it swatched and was asking people, what color is this? A lot of them did really see kind of a yellow undertone to it, even though it's supposed to be a rose bronze, although I definitely see the rose as well. This one I find less conflicted. It's just basically a warm copper undertoned bronze shade. The other one I have is this color right here. It's on my lips, and I'll show you how I use them in a minute. This, they say, is Laos, and they call it a rose coral. I think that is accurate, but I see it more as a rose and less coral, if that makes sense. I think it leans more to the rose side than to the coral side. It's like rose with a touch of coral in it, as opposed to kind of halfway in between them. And the other one I had done before was, so you can see it, Siam, which is a poppy red. So these are the four colors I have, and in the video I'm doing the two in the middle. So first, what do I think of the product in general? So these are $39 for 0.26 ounces, and the regular multiples, which I have one right here, are 0.5. So I'm not thrilled with the fact that they cut the size so much. It's pretty obvious, and I'm not sure why they did that. These are matte, unlike most of the multiples, which are pretty shimmery. I think a lot of people have had problems with how shimmery they are. Also, I felt like the formula was a little, I don't want to say heavier because that's the wrong way of saying it. It's a little bit more opaque. So with a lot of the multiples, I have a hard time getting good coverage on my lips, especially since my top lip tends to fade away, and with a lighter formula, and most of the cheek to lip formulas do that to me. I just really can't wear it as a lip formula, even though I have really pigmented lips, because I just have a problem with that not like forming an upper lip on me, and it just doesn't look good. According to NARS, these are a modern matte multi-purpose makeup stick for lips and cheeks that may be used wet or dry. They say it's an innovative formula that delivers vibrant pops and sensual sun-kissed modern matte hues for lips and cheeks. Used dry, it delivers a burst of high-impact color. Used wet, color melts into skin with imperceptibly smooth sheer finish. So yes, I love the ability to use these wet or dry. These two shades I found a lot more easy to use, as I said earlier, than the others that I had. Like the Siam, I really did use that wet concept a lot because it was such a vibrant burst of color. It was almost too much if I wasn't really careful about muting it. These are both very easy to use. And the Laos is just a very, very pretty, you can see, natural looking rose color. So what I did, just to show you, is I took this, and I actually have started putting it on my arm and swatching it there, and then applying it to my face, although you can also dot just on top of it. I find sometimes applying it directly is just a little too strong a color. And then I've been playing around with the wet concept, and I love that. At first it took me a little bit of time to get used to it, to get the hang of it, but it really does give you a lot more control over the application of what you're putting on your face. And that's where I would say some people are going to love these and some people aren't. A cream formula, in my opinion, very often gives a more natural look, and these are particularly smooth, creamy, buttery, blendable, especially with that ability to wet them down and get an even lighter coverage in certain places, but that requires a little extra work and effort, and if you want to get the full benefit of the product. And I felt with the other two shades that I had, you really needed to kind of use those gradations and blending and all that to get the best impact out of them. These two I think are a lot more idiot proof, which is a good thing for me because I'm very often in a huge rush to get ready in the morning. And as much as I'm the type of person that will actually make a makeup video, so I will spend the time when I have it to dot it with water and, you know, get everything perfect on my face and do all the shading and gradations. And I will be doing a video just on the shading and the highlighting and all that. It's not something I have time to do every day. So these are idiot proof. That I liked about these two shades. So I took the Laos and I just actually dotted it on my arm, and then I just smoothed it like this onto my cheeks. And you can see it's just a very natural looking coverage. As much as these are somewhat opaque, I found, you can sheer them out. And so you can get a good coverage on your lips like I did here. And you can also get just kind of a softer coverage here on your cheeks. And then I did what they say in the NARS videos, because on the website they have videos on how to use these. I just dotted my finger and applied just a little bit up here at the hairline, dotting it to brighten up the face, they say, and then a little bit on the top of my nose to also brighten up my face. So let me just, since this is on camera, it's not going to show quite as bright. And that's what I would say about the shading too, is if you're going to do stuff on camera, like this video for example, then the shading is more beneficial sometimes than in real life. In real life, too much shading looks like too much shading in my opinion, but on camera it looks dramatic and beautiful. So you have to kind of mute a lot of what you do with these off camera, but if you're going to be doing videos or photos, then you don't. You just kind of can pour it on and then blend. And this is the, yes, Vientiene, I can't pronounce it quite right. And what I did with this one is I actually, again, did it on my wrist, got a little water on my finger, and I did what they say on the NARS website, which is right under the cheekbone. I put a little bit of shading, and it actually is very natural looking in real life. It looks a lot like it does on camera because these shades are a little bit softer. I haven't seen the last shade, which is Cappadocia, which they only have on the NARS website, and that is, they say, a golden brown, and it looks a little darker than this one. Very pretty, but this is kind of the bronzy one. And so this one I did a 3 as well, again wet, because I didn't want too strong a line, and I'm going to show you using it as a bronzer in a minute, but I didn't want to wreck the blush color first. So I used it kind of as a 3, coming under the cheekbone and then right to the jawline, which, by the way, the jawline is key for pictures. For all the videos I've done, whenever I forget to do the jawline, it just makes a tremendously bad difference. But in real life, you have to be really careful not to have a brown chin. So these blend away really nicely. And that was kind of the problem I had with Altai. It was so light, I almost blended it away too much. This one I find is a lot easier to use, even though it's darker, because you do have that ability to wet your finger first and just put on a really soft wash of color. Because I tend to put a lot of highlighters, shimmers, glitters, all that on my face. I'm a huge fan of the matte bronzers and the matte blushes, because it just gives me more flexibility in the overall look. According to the NARS website, they say you mix the shimmers with the mattes for a more natural look, and that might be true. I just like starting with mattes because it just gives me more flexibility with the other makeup. And I also like how it looks. I'm no longer 20, and sometimes too much shimmer can be a little harsh on me. So what I did do is, according to the NARS site also, they took one of the regular multiples. They took a different one I don't have, but I took Luxor. And I had first put the Vientiene as an eyeshadow and a little bit under the eye, because you can use these as an eyeshadow. And then I took the shimmer and I put it on top of that just to kind of open it up. And then I also took the shimmer, if we're talking about shading, and I put a little bit right here under, right on top of the cheekbones, and then under the brow bone. And so when they talk about shading your face, that's kind of, you have the shimmers and then you have the kind of matte colors that balance it out. I'm going to use this as a bronzer now. What I would also do in real life, since I like adding a little bit of bronzer into my blush, is I would mix a little bit of this in. And you can see this isn't wet, but you can still see how easily it just kind of melts into your skin. And that's why it's such a great product for shading or just for a natural looking blush or bronzer, in my opinion. There are 6 colors on the Sephora site, and I swatched the other ones when I was at Sephora. There's Anguilla, which is a ginger pink, and that was a little cool tone. It's a very light, cool pink. Too cool for me. I could probably get away with how light it is, maybe, but it's way too cool. And then the other one was Exumus, which is a pink apricot, and that one was a warm undertoned, but definitely too orange for me. I did better with that as a blush than as a lip color. And I found most of these, like I said earlier, were a warmer undertone, so that's something to take into account. As a blush or an eyeshadow, these last about 6 hours on me, and I do get a little bit of fading, but they last pretty well. And I'm going to show you, you can also take the pink and just put it in the outer corner of your eye. Or you could wear this as a pink eyeshadow. It's a little too pink for me to wear just as an eyeshadow alone, but I can put it in the corner. And on the lips, they last about 2 hours. I did notice, I don't have a dry skin problem. Well, I have a dry skin problem, but I don't have a dry lip problem. I did notice that after wearing these for a couple days on my lips, I was starting to get a little bit of dryness. So is it the weather? We've had crazy weather where I am. Kind of hot, cold, hot, cold. It could be the weather, but it also could be the product. It's always hard to say for sure. And that's another thing about creams, is that they're very weather specific. So I've got dry skin. For me, creams work great because they just hold better to my skin, and sometimes even last longer. Or I'll very often layer a cream product like this with a blush, because then I get a little bit more adhesion and a little bit better wear. Whereas if I had oily skin, I might feel a bit differently about these cream formulas, especially in the summer. It might be a little too slick. But I really like these. If I were to buy them all over again, I would get these 2 colors first, only because they're just so easy to wear and use. And if you're not super sophisticated with the shading, I also think it's easier to do the darker shade because of the water element, and because they are just so beautiful and blendable. So I think I covered everything. If you have any questions, comments, anything like that, this is on YouTube. Please subscribe on YouTube. One other thing I forgot to say, I actually like these better, honestly, on bare skin, not with the foundation, but I did the foundation here, and I think it's a natural, pretty look. I'm also doing a novel on YouTube called Masks, which is about makeup and the masks we wear. And if I were to grade these products, I would give these 2 an A for someone like me who's willing to put in that little bit of effort for the shading and the variations you can get with the tones, and also someone with a warm skin undertone like I have. So I think that's pretty much it.